In this segment, Matt goes into seeing how this ability to connect to other things and find out what the scope is and where to stop his study, and how it's connected to other parts, and yet how to specialize in his own way is an important part of doing self-study, to know the boundaries, post-reductionism, and being a view of a generalist, how to find the landscape that you're working in to find new problems that you're
So
going to
I
solve.
did Python, and Python has a lot of these libraries. That's what makes Python so valuable. Hey, if I want to do R, which is really statistics based, I can, or if I want to do MATLAB, which is really science based, I can just import a science library into Python and do it here. This scikit-learn was for, that's your machine learning and those sort of things. Um, but one thing I
Yeah.
like to say
So
about that, go ahead,
go. No, I sensed the pause there. Tell me about that.
is so imagine like self-teaching yourself nursing maybe. And well, I know medicines, I know these things. Oh, I'm really interested in medicines. What, how specifically, like, oh, that's chemistry and that's lab. That's somebody else. Or, hey, I'm a nurse and this bone is broken, but I can't really see how it is. I should look into how I could do that. Like an X-ray tech, that's also a different job.
Yep.
You sort of naturally fall into these other interests because it's all included, but within like a professional sense, those jobs are done by other people.
Yep.
And so that's what I found is when I was learning this so far, I wanted to delve into machine learning, and what I found after doing some of the trainings, I was like, this is really hard, very strange, and most difficult of all, like I just don't know how to apply it. Like I could run the machine, but I just don't know what to aim it at. And so what I eventually came to, I watched a couple YouTube videos, and the people that do this for Google have PhDs.
Yep.
And so that's when I realized, okay, that's a different professional than I am as a data analyst for now. And perhaps I could evolve. That is my evolution track, is to go into that someday, but not today. Or another thing that I did is I got a Raspberry Pi and I turned it into a server and started to worry about nodes and those sort of things. And that's a network analyst. That's
Yep.
also another person professionally. Or I started to worry about, okay, how do the cables work? How big a gauge do I need for this? How, and that was like headed into electrical engineering of, hey, let me get an Arduino and start to build Arduinos. Like, that's also out of my wheelhouse. But I've done enough to learn accessory things so I could talk to those people. But that's another thing of self-taught learning, is knowing where your scope is.
Okay. So, but the thing that comes from that, Matt, I've talked about this in other videos, is something called post-reductionism. James Burke talks about this idea that the world's been organized around reductionism for 500 years. Descartes said you take a problem, you got to break it down to smaller pieces so you can control the variables, so you can study that farther. And we've been using that effectively for 500 years to build the world of knowledge we have today. But it creates these domains, these independent domains that people specialize more and more in. James Burke says we're at the bottom of what can be known because we've broken the problems down so far. The new problems that exist in the world exist between the domains. And that's kind of what you're doing there, is you're getting a sense of what is the connection between the domains. And if you don't have a sense of what's the connections between the domains, then you don't have a sense of where the new problems are that need to be solved.